Yeah, it's my great honor to be here to share with you guys our insight and discuss the opportunity for pigment inks. First of all, let me introduce myself a little bit briefly. I'm Rachel Lee, a segment marketing manager working for Fujifilm Ink Solutions Group. My responsibility is to lead key market segment development and also to drive the market strategy. Pigment textile is one of the key market I'm responsible for, and also personally, I have a really passionate about it. My goal and my role is to ensure as a business, we always stand ahead of curve and deliver the right technologies and products to ensure our customer to achieve their commercial and sustainable goal in inkjet textile. So today, I'm going to share with you guys insight and to start to review the textile digitization journey, and also to explore the challenges we are facing in the pigment formulation. And then we can discuss about opportunities in pigment inks. As a starting point, please allow me to have another brief introduction for our business and company. Because Fujifilm is a so big name, it's an active players in inkjet world covering a wide range of market. But what actually Fujifilm Ink Solution Group do? It's a global manufacturer dedicating in a high performance inkjet inks and pigment dispersions. We work with the OEMs, converters, brands, ink formulators, and co-suppliers to develop the inkjet solutions together. We maximize all of our success in inkjet. Textile obviously is a key market segment for Fujifilm Ink Solutions Group. This is where we spend the time and a resource and for focused area. And also we design, research, and manufacture high performance ink and pigment dispersion to apply to a wide range of textile applications. As a business, we really want to have an in-depth understanding about what's happening in this market. So we spend some time and a resource to carry on our own market research with a reference of the IT strategy and the Smithers. So this is what we found out. According to this chart, obviously, there is two key chemistries are widely used in textile, pigment and dye. Based on our understanding and our view from the ink point of view, about a 5.5% market has already been digitized. And also we believe the digital textile is one of the fast growing area for the future in the whole digital printing industry. Let's have a look at this chart showing you a textile digitization journey. Obviously, from this chart, you may realize the soft signage is the most successful area adopt digital printing so far. But actually, we can argue soft signage belongs to part of a sign and display rather than textile. It's just use a textile as a substrate for printing the application for a sign and display purpose. As a result, from the true digital textile point of view, we believe the DTG is one of the pioneer in this journey. Yesterday, I think some of the presentation already touched about the DTG, especially it's a high demanding, increasing online shopping, customer design needed for printing on the t-shirt, on the bag. It does drive a lot to push the DTG into a digital application. So that's why, so far, DTG is quite successfully adopted in the digital world. And also we believe this area will keep going. What else? Actually, from yesterday and even today, and the people talk a lot about we are under the pressure globally for the logistic issues. And also people are looking for on-demand printing, try to reduce the storage, to reduce the waste. That's give another opportunity for the digital technology. We are very happy to see a lot of activities happening at the moment. The people that try to use the digital for print, not just for DTG, is also the direct-to fabric. Because of some of the good technology, good performance from the dye-based can give you a brighter color, give you a soft hand feel. So we can see some of the area has already engaged with dye-based digital printing onto the fabric. We believe that dye-based digital is growing and also come into quite early stage of the mainstream market already. But let's back into the pigment technology. Apart from the DTG printing, we also realize for the direct-to fabric, some of the people start to think about the pigment technology and started to apply on some type of applications. But it's still in the very early stage of the market. So our question is, how far the pigment technology can go into this journey? Some of the discussion raised in this conference yesterday about sustainability is a truly super important topic. And also, we all believe digital is a more sustainable method and to deliver some sustainable solutions in this industry. So all of us and work together, we want to push very hard to speed up the digital to be adopted widely in the textile industry. But apart from the printing method, from the chemistry point of view, go dye or go pigment, anything else we need to consider further. According to dye, there are some added chemicals in the formulation. It might cause the people's health issue. But luckily, there is no hazardous chemicals in the aqueous pigment inks. According to World Bank data, we notice averagely about 20% industrial water pollution caused by textile dyeing and treatment. In some countries, even worse, people send dye directly to the river without any treatment. That's a terrible situation we are facing now, and it will keep going. Then from the energy and the water consumption point of view, we also know, we talk about a lot, we are now in the energy crisis situation. Our bills go up crazily, and also some of the area have a shortage of water, especially in Kent, in the UK, the summertime, we go the 3 months, no rain at all. But what it tells to us from the dye technology, actually will need 3 times more energy consumption and water consumption compared to pigment. On top of that, and twice more CO2 emissions generate from dye compared to pigment. So when we bring the sustainability into the consideration, it is not just technically we can think about that. This is already spread into the marketplace. So the customer, consumers start to have a mindset change to bring into a little bit environmental responsibility into the mind and even heart. I am one of those. So what actually tells to us? The demand from the market and the customer for a sustainability requirement will definitely impact and drive the whole textile supply chain. So we must pay attention on that. The other common questions is about what's happening when the textile go to the end of its life, whether it can be recycled and how to do with that. But we appreciate there is ongoing development and innovation is happening in the market. People try to look at 100% sustainable fabric and it can be recycled fabric. But I think this is not just the fabric manufacturing and all the industry, and including the ink, chemical, and the systems, we need to work together to deliver more suitable options for the future. As a result, we believe a pigment technology is a more sustainable solution in inkjet textile. Pigment technology is a more sustainable solution in digital textile. This is also our business focusing on, and our innovation and development is aligned with this market trend. How to achieve it? This is a question. There is a lot of stuff we need to think about, not just achieve it, but how to drive it and speed up the adoption process for the pigment technology. Actually, in this industry, I think all of us are into this journey. It's not just for the ink company or chemical company. It's about the printhead company, hardware system, software system, pre-treatment, post-treatment, and even fabric, etc., and etc. But as ink manufacturing and a pigment dispersion manufacturing, we believe ink actually play an even more critical role in between. It's very easy to understand because ink need to go into the print system and through the print system, and then to stick on the fabric will finally become a part of the product for use. So to meet the final requirement for the application, as a result, the role for the ink need to enable a very reliable and compatible in the printing system, and on the other hand, to deliver the performance and the functionality for a target application requirement. Then the question is, how pigment technology to work with both, any challenges we are facing, and whether there is a way and a solution we can move forward. Before we talk about print system, just a little bit like to touch about pigment ink. What actually inside in the formulation? Nothing is too small to be ignored. Small components matter. Generally speaking, there are 4 key components in the pigment ink formulation: pigment dispersion, binders, co-solvent, and additives. So each component plays a key role for deliver a reliable and a compatible system to meet the target application requirement. So I'd like to all you guys to keep this in mind for the moment. Let's move on to the print system. We have reviewed the textile digitization journey just a moment ago. Then if we have the print system evolution or adoption into this digitization journey, which will give us a further understanding what's happening in the past and what will happen in the future. About 15-20 years ago, and the inkjet means to everyone, it's a small desktop. It's a slow, you can print for some of the samples, that's it. Then maybe afterwards, you will see the market have a ground format, roll to roll in the textile market for printing dice up onto the sportswear. but it's a slow-moving machine. Then to speed up the productivity, then the people try to bring into the hybrid system for the analog and digital together, have a combination solution for a different application purpose and to speed up the productivity. Further on, even a faster speed flatbed printing for a direct garment developed and introduced to the market. This actually is to change the game and from the only sample printing process move into scale up production purpose. So what's happening now? When we go into the exhibition and at the end user, then we realize actually there is even the bigger, faster roll-to-roll machines installed in their place. You can see a lot of a scanning system and even a single pass system. What it means to us, especially what it means to ink and chemical manufacturing. The higher speed, which means you definitely need to have a very reliable and compatible system to work with to ensure you can keep going at a higher speed with no stop point. In the highly demanded production area, there is a comprehensive solution should be considered. Your customer, our customer, will ask about, I want to have a super good jetting reliability. I don't want to see anything dry on my nozzle plate caused my nozzle blockage. I want to have a longer open time. Also, I want to keep a faster productivity all the time with a less energy consumption. This is really, really ideal. Yeah, really, it's a dream and all of us, we want to achieve. We also understand this is also the target we want to move forward. But in the dye-based formulation, normally, because the dye has no pigment particle, has no binder in the formulation, which means you can relatively easy to formulate a dye-based ink for good jetting. But what's the challenge for pigment ink facing? To have a good jetting at a high speed, which means you will need to control the dry speed in a proper way. One of the components we just mentioned in the pigment formulation is a co-solvent. Co-solvent actually can help for slow down the speed in the formulation, which is brilliant. That means there is a less risk to dry the ink on the nozzle plate to give you a longer open time. But on the other hand, if you have a very slow dry formulation, you won't keep your productivity at high speed. Or if you want to keep a high speed productivity, you will have to increase the energy to dry it. So how to balance it? Balance the dry and the jetting reliability is a technical critical questions. And the good choice for the co-solvent is really important for every chemistry. Need to think about that. So what we are looking for here is about a bold choice of a co-solvent and compatible in the pigment formulation. Furthermore, from the jetting at high speed, another challenge we are facing is about the risk for a nozzle clogging. Another component we cannot ignore, which is a pigment dispersion. A high purity of the pigment dispersion will definitely add value in the jetting performance in your formulation. And also the particle size, the narrow particle size distribution will help for a more reliable jetting in the system. As a result, what we are looking for is a high purity pigment dispersion with a narrow particle size distribution. Move on to the application. This is another key area as an ink company we cannot ignore. But also we appreciate from the functionality and the performance point of view, and each chemistry has its strengths in a different application area. For example, the pigment technology is quite suitable for household home textile. But the dye-based technology is widely used in the fashion and the silk. So this gives us a question, how far pigment technology can go, whether there is any opportunities to stretch, to expand the pigment technology into a wider range of application. There are some challenges we have to have a look. The first challenge we appreciate is about the softness. Softness actually is a very subjective topic. It's a really personal interaction. To measure softness, it really depends on maybe the testers, how sensitive the tester is, or the test procedures, the mood, either that day the tester got. If I got a very happy mood or bad mood, maybe it will end up with a very different result. And even some personal preference, somebody like this type of feeling, or even a culture will make very different conclusion. But also we appreciate there are some different level of the requirement for the softness by application. When we look at this screen, from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, there is an increasing requirement for the softness. I can understand we normally can accept a relatively hard surface for our oven glove because you won't use it and touch your skin quite often. But for your scarf, the silk stuff, then you might like to have a super soft feel on your skin. In theory, there is not too difficult for a pigment technology to formulate a soft inks. The challenge is not like a dye. For the pigment, you don't have a chemical bond between a pigment particle and the fabric. You will need a binder to help for the fastness. You don't want the ink to wash out quickly. At least you want to keep it for several months or years. We need to introduce a binder into the formulation. Then there is a challenge how to balance the softness and the fastness. The good choice of the binder will definitely make a really different performance and a result for your formulation. What we are looking for here is a bold choice of a binder and compatible in the formulation. The other challenge I think all of us would appreciate, and for the pigment technology, is about the colors. With dye can deliver quite a bright color because dye can bond direct onto the fabric. In the analog world, they have a large amount of color option in their product portfolio, which means it's quite easy for them to match every Pantone color by just mixing colors. What's happened in the inkjet world? We have a very limited process color available in our ranges. To achieve a wider color gamut, we should need an additional spot color. For example, OVG, red, and blue to allow the digital printing to expand the color gamut to close the gap. On the other hand, we might need to think about a little bit high pigment strength in your formulation to improve the density. So in that case, what we are looking for here is a wider color range and a high pigment strength, pigment dispersion in your formulation. Let's back to this picture. Every small components matter. Pigment dispersion, binders, co-solvent, and additive. Each of those plays a key role to deliver a reliable, compatible system and to achieve the performance required for each applications. But from our point of view, we believe pigment dispersion even more critical in the formulation. The quality for the pigment dispersion will determine if your formulation is successful or not. I would like to give you an example. This is a test we did in our lab. This is a relatively radical test. We pick up 3 pigment dispersions. One is from Fujifilm RXD technology. The other 2 is from other 2 suppliers. We add in a co-solvent into the pigment dispersion. We use a 25% pigment dispersion weight for weight by added for 75% weight for weight co-solvent. I have to say, we never use any harmful solvent in our formulation, but just to have a very straightforward and instant demonstration, we decided to use a very, very radical test to see the difference from the stability level. From this photograph, it's very obviously and the 2 pigment dispersion from other suppliers and to show desorption after adding the solvent. On contrast, the RSD pigment dispersion stay very stable, which tells to us it's about the importance of the stability of a pigment dispersion in a formulation, which actually can provide a wider window for you to have a lot of wider choices for other components. So how this technology works? I'm going to show you a short video, and in the meantime, I'd like to invite my colleague Grant. He's a product manager for RSD pigment dispersion, and Grant is going to give you a more detailed explanation how this technology works.
Thank you, Rachel. As Rachel's explained there, pigment dispersion is at the base of every ink, and you need a stable dispersion to develop that ink. So at Fujifilm, we take high purity pigments, we grind them down to controlled size, they're never spherical. We introduce our bespoke polymer, which has ionizable groups and cross-linkable groups there. The loops and the legs of this polymer give us steric stability, which helps keep the pigments from touching each other. The ionizable groups, they provide electrostatic stability, which stops pigments again from coming together using like the opposite poles of a magnet. And then we use cross-linking. That holds these polymer chains around, forming a secure cage around the pigment. What that does is it helps prevent the desorption of that polymer from the pigment surface, which maintains the stability, even in the presence of strong solvents. So we have the 3 modes of stabilization. We have the steric, we have electrostatic, and we have cross-linking. And this is the technology that's at the heart of Fujifilm dispersions and our inks.
Thank you, Grant. Yeah, if you like to understand this technology a little bit further, then we are always available to talk with you, discuss. So, specifying a right ink is quite critical, and to choose the best components in your formulation is vital. That's why Fujifilm decided to develop its own pigment dispersion, because the exceptional stable RSD pigment dispersion can provide a much wider window and for the ink components choices. We mentioned about the jetting at high speed. the higher purity of the RSD in your formulation will definitely add value for the jetting performance in the formulation. On the other hand, we also mentioned about how to balance the challenge between dry speed and the jetting reliability. With RSD in the formulation, which allow the chemist to choose a broad range of the co-solvent and can play around with this and to find the best way and to balance the dry and jetting reliability to keep the faster speed, and there is low risk for any jetting issues. In the same formulation, we have to say, when we consider to adding the pigment dispersion, we will mind to have more RSD strength and into your dispersion, into your formulation to improve the color density. On the other hand, the extensive colors from the pigment dispersion will definitely give you opportunity to meet the designer's requirement. With a very stable formulation environment, you can also freely to play around with other chemical components like binders. To improve the highly level of the fastness without compromise any fastness is a challenge, but this actually gives the opportunity to do the job. In the meantime, when we're sitting in a very stable environment, stability means flexibility. Give a high level of flexibility to apply with other surfactant or additives in the formulation to achieve the higher image quality and other functionality needed for the required applications. So a lot of things we can think about that. Even just the 4 components in the pigment ink technology, but still how to balance it, to maximize their functionality to give the final resolution for the target application is something we need to work together. So as a result, we believe Fujifilm RSD pigment dispersion can bring the ink design into the next level, because you can have your ink design built on a very stable foundation that will give you a potential to develop an optimal ink formulation quickly and effectively. We talk a lot about challenges, opportunities, what the world wants, and one of the key drivers is about sustainability. The whole market and the world talk about sustainability, not just in the textile industry, it's everywhere. But actually in our industry, what we can do and to respond to the market calling, the customer need moving for the future. We as a business, we believe the pigment technology is a more sustainable solution for digital textile, but also we understand the challenges and the gaps. We cannot ignore the cost consideration, but our job is to stand up to look at all the technologies. But also I believe this is not just our job, it's everyone's job. We need to work together to look at a more comprehensive solutions together to definitely speed up the adoption process for pigment technology in the digital textile market. So I believe this is the time. I really appreciate this type of opportunity to share with all you guys about our vision. But this is also a time for the market, for this industry to work together and to proceed the better solution. And I believe RSD pigment dispersion can support some of the good opportunities in your textile project. Let's work together. Let's change the game. And I believe finally, the digital pigment textile will give us a benefit and a value commercially and environmentally. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, yeah, please feel free to ask and also meet us. Thank you.
Any questions from the audience?
Yes, just a question. You talk about the pigment ink on fashion and silk. How you can control a good ink penetration with pigments, if you can control, because talking about silk or any other textile, we needed to penetrate a little bit into the fibers to cover all the fiber, sometimes also on the back side.
Yeah, you want to ask? Oh, yeah.
I think we've talked about stability of the ink, stability of the dispersion to enable you to build the ink. I think as you heard earlier today, we also need to build in the functionality with the use of the right binders, the polyurethanes that Covestro talked about today, to make sure we can attach the pigment to those fibers. I think silk's a real challenge for us with pigment, and I think that's where we need to develop new technologies to try and get both that fastness and that softness that you still want to have. So I think right now, those are the challenges we're having to work with, and hopefully in the future, we will have new products coming forward that include the right additives and the stabilities of the dispersions to achieve those aims.
Yeah, thank you, Grant. And maybe I want to add a little bit more my comments. So yeah, pigment technology, definitely the area we want to push, but doesn't mean, and actually pigment ink currently can't apply on everything. We really notice, yeah, there is a by application, you have a different requirement. Maybe silk is a little bit different, difficult area, but now if the pigment technology is quite suitable for the household, for the home textile, whether we can push a little bit further into a fashion or then a little bit further rather than go direct to the silk. But I think when the technology evolution and change, and then we will see a lot of other technology available, but the foundation is if you have a very stable pigment dispersion in the formulation, which still gave you a wider window to pick up other components to help for the performance.
Any other question or comments? No? Okay. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Fran.